Ted Cohen. Ted Cohen used to be our very first speaker of California back in 2017 when we organized it inside Les Ardentes. It was inside the festival.
You still invites me back.
You what?
You still invite me back.
Yes. We'll see. You will vote after if you can come back next year.
Okay, we'll vote. Yeah, thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay.
So Ted Cohen is a very good friend. He's also part of the advisory board of California. He helps us a lot to grow every year. So it's a pleasure to introduce him today for a keynote about You Read, as well as me.
Starts with the T-shirt.
Yes. How do we unfuck the music industry? So Ted, very happy to have you here again for the 5th time.
This is my 7th. Well, it's my 5th time here.
And 2 online.
2 online. This is my 7th California, my 5th in person. And it's great, and I love, this is the best event in the world, and I mean that. And there's 2 other events, Mondo in New York and the thing in New Orleans, that are also excellent. This is the best event in the world.
Thank you, Ted, I appreciate it. The stage is yours.
Okay, thank you. I need a clicker. Okay. So, what I wanted to do is, this is a thing for the audience to talk, because everybody has an opinion on how we fix the music business, because the music business is fucked, right? Right. By the way, it's interactive. You have to participate. Meanwhile, I was asked, and you'd have to know, Jerome had me do a keynote at the very first event. I did a 2-hour talk, and yet he let me come back. And people say, haven't you heard about TED Talks that are only like 10, 15, 20 minutes? I went, yeah, but TED Talks, I talk a lot. But I came back. I was asked this year actually, at South by Southwest, to do a 5-minute speech. The hardest thing I've ever had to do, because the slides were timed to change every 15 seconds. It's 20 slides, 15 seconds each. It's got a thing called Ignite, put on by Brady Forrest and his wife. Her name is actually Firin Forrest, like fire in the forest. It's the weirdest thing ever. I think she married him for the name. I came up with this. I have been working this is officially my 41st year in digital. Unofficially, it's my 45th year in digital. Next year will be my 60th year in music, and I'm only 15. For years, I hid my age, and now I'm still here. I realized my first part of my career, and I'll start going into this. Is it going to work? Oh, it's technology. No, right? Oh, there we go. Sorry. Here we go. Let's see if this works. So my career has been an untraditional path. I worked at Warner Records in the 70s in artist development. I was assigned baby bands to work with, and my baby bands ended up being Fleetwood Mac, Van Halen, these boys. The T-shirt that I have on there, the Sherry at the Beach Boys tour, the night before Sid had hit me in the face with his bass by accident. He went to club somebody in the audience, swung the bass, missed the guy, and I was standing over here, and I got caught in the arc. But artist development was basically going on the road with new artists and helping them make their show the best it could be. It wasn't producing the album or signing the band, but it was going on the road and saying to people like David Lee Roth from Van Halen, stop talking so much, or turning to David Byrne from Talking Heads and say, please say something. Just kind of acknowledge that the audience is there. So I did this, got to hang out with these guys. They were great. But I ended up in Chicago in 1977 and was at the Drake Hotel, and there was a company called Advent that had come out with the first big screen TV. And I was hanging out in the suite with the guy who had just bought Advent, a guy named Peter Sprague, whose father was the founder of National Semiconductor, which was Intel before Intel. He created Silicon Valley, him and Fairchild. Intel came later. Anyway, he invited me to come with him. We're in his room where they're showing this new big screen TV at the Drake Hotel. And these 2 guys wander in, looking very homeless, torn T-shirts and torn jeans, with a little brown zipper case. And they open up the case and it says, they said, this is the Apple I computer. It's going to change the world. And I'm like, okay. Warner owned Atari. I started hanging out with Atari and this was 77. It was very easy then. I sent a lot of albums to Atari people, and they sent me back computers and game cartridges and printers and stuff. Same shit we did, but now it was computers. So I met them. I started hanging out at Atari. I ended up in the 10th issue. I finally got my big screen TV from them. This was the 10th year anniversary issue of Rolling Stone. That's me over there on the side of the screen in pajamas. Got involved in tech and then ended up at MediumNet. I ran MediumNet for a few years and have been talking about the eventuality and the inevitability of things, and I'm going to pronounce it correctly. Meadow? Meadow. Meadow was very cool yesterday. I mean, these things we talk about now that have been gestating for a bunch of years, but the tech has caught up with it and the audience is ready to do it. Produced a title for the Cranberries. At the same time, I was working for Napster and Amazon.com and the REAA, so I was on all sides of it. I knew somebody was going to win the lawsuit, and I wanted to be working for the winner. Ended up working with a company called Lyric Find. How many of you know Daryl Ballantyne? I think some of you do. Daryl was my intern at EMI. I now work for him. So if you can have people intern for you and then pay you for the rest of your life, it's a really good outcome. But basically, this is what I realized when I switched careers from artist development to technology, it really wasn't a switch. A startup is a band, and a band is a startup. Your CEO is your lead singer, but your CTO, your COO is actually your lead guitarist, songwriter, guy who keeps the band together, etc. You need to balance all the, you need to you don't want to leave the band. It didn't work out good for David Lee Roth. You want to stay in the collaborative environment. Your VC is like your record label. They invest in you or they sign you and then they start going, you need to get rid of the drummer. Don't listen to them. Unless the drummer really sucks and then go, hey, it's not our fault. The label said we have to get rid of you. Or the CTO has to go because they don't like it. But what I understand, who's a VC here? Anybody? There's nobody? Well, I never understand why a venture capitalist invests in a company and then says get rid of the founders. Because it's like signing the band and then getting rid of the lead singer and the lead guitarist and go, then you can call them Menudo. You have to push back. Recognize what everybody does. You need to collaborate. Oops, sorry, I'm going way too fast. Oops, I went to Yoko too quickly. Damn, you need to collaborate. You need to work together. There's going to be growing pains. And every company and every band has a Yoko Ono. That may be a male or a female. It's somebody whispering in your ear saying, you don't need them, or they don't need you, or you need to be somewhere else, or you should fire them. Don't listen to Yoko or whoever that person happens to be. You have partners during the day, and then you have the partner you come home to at night. You should be very respectful of keeping that relationship going. But on the other hand, it isn't a 9-to-5 gig. So if you say you're going to be home at 5 o'clock for a 5:30 dinner, well, see, you should have seen this. You should have seen this. Right, that's it. They have to understand, hi, you were going to be home at 5:30. Yeah, but I'm with the VC, and they just wrote us a check for $1 million, and I'm not coming home for dinner. I'm coming to pick you up in a limo, and we're going out to dinner for the most fuck-me dinner you've ever had in your life. So they have to understand on the other side that this is not a 9-to-5 gig, what we do. Whether it's a startup, whether it's a band, whether it's a VC, it's 24/7. It's not like the idea of a work-life balance. Yes, you should have some time off, but the reality is if you really like what you're doing, it's not work. Never say never. We're never going to sell to Amazon. We're never going to support, Apple saying we're never going to support Windows. That never holds, well, almost never holds, so I don't say never. Always take a deep breath before you say what you're about to say, or go in a room and say it and hear it bounce off the mirror, and you figure out later that maybe I shouldn't say that. I have to keep watching this because I don't take the deep breath all the time. My mouth goes ahead of my brain. Lowen and Navarro. Does anybody know who Lowen and Navarro is? No one. They were a band, they were a duo, like a Hall & Oates that were together for about 10 years. And then they had a fight and they broke up one day. And I could actually, no, I'm not going to play it for you. Where did I leave? You're safe. Eric Lowen, who had passed away a few years ago, calls Dan Navarro and says, you got to come over. We got to get back together. And Dan Navarro says, absolutely not, fuck you, we're not gonna do this. And Eric pleads with him, come over, let's just talk. I mean, we were together for 10 years. I mean, we can make this work. He goes over, they have coffee, and they pick up a couple of guitars, and an hour later they write a song called We Belong that Pat Benatar recorded that sold 10 million albums. And they got new houses and new cars, and they played together until Eric died. And if you look up the lyrics for the song, you think it's a love song. It basically talks that we're devoted to the music, we're devoted to each other, the words mean everything. And, quote, they gave it another shot. It was like Steve Jobs coming back to Apple. So you just have to do it. I wanted to share that with you because whether you're creating a company, whether you're creating a band, whether you're creating a new construct for managing, you know, we only heard NFTs a couple times here, which is, I think, pretty good. I think we now call them secretly tokens. We're not supposed to say NFTs anymore. We're in a creative economy, and we're in a creative environment, and you have to respect everybody else in the food chain. So this is supposed to be interactive. How much time? I have about 10 minutes left, because my 5-minute speech still was 10 minutes. Somebody pick some. I'm going to pick on you. What do you think is the most fucked thing about the current music industry? Not music, but the industry or the business.
I think no, maybe respect is not a good word, but no respect for the artist. The artist is not, it's all about the artist, but the artist is not in the center.
How do we fix that? What would you do to fix it? If you had the magic wand and you were like, you got hired by Universal Music, I don't know where Jay is here. Is Jay in? He's probably out having a meeting somewhere. What would you? They're going to hire you, and you're going to fix that problem, or you're going to get Jake to hire you to fix the problem.
Well, I think the problem will probably solve itself a bit. Like what's going on with tech, I think there is a democratic process going on where the artist will have more power on what he's doing, so he'll be more in control.
But we're 25 years into that right now. We're 25 years into the artist. Going back to mp3.com in '98. Yeah. We're 25 years into mp3.com was going to empower every indie artist, and every artist that was worthwhile in mp3.com ended up signing to Sony or Universal or Warner.
But right now you don't have to sign anymore because you can find every people who can make your career together with you through the internet or whatever. So you don't need to go to a big company or a big label. You can choose your own ones.
Okay. Other than Chance the Rapper, give me 3 examples of an artist that one example of someone who became very big without the support of a major.
Well, now I'm caught because I don't know any artists.
Okay. Anybody else? What?
It's a funk band from the US, funk band. Nobody knows Wolfpack? Yeah, they're pretty well known. And they even if they are very well known now, they don't want to collaborate with any label. And I'm a label owner.
And that's good. No, and it's good. And when someone says, I don't want to sign with a major, it's fine. Or maybe you're at a point where you can sign and you retain ownership of your masters. You have creative control over the advertising. I'll do the short version of the story. Van Halen got signed to Warner after trying to get a deal for 8 years. Warner signs them. The first album sells 10 million copies. They want to renegotiate. Warner says, we gave you a really good deal, and nobody else signed. They kept saying, we want to renegotiate, we want to renegotiate, we want to renegotiate. A guy named David Berman, who ran legal at Warner, was getting calls every day from the manager going, hi, we want to renegotiate. Noel calls on a Monday morning and says, hi, my name is Noel Monk. I manage a band called Van Halen. We used to be on Warner Records. We'd like to maybe re-sign with you, but we're talking to other people. And David goes, what are you talking about? Well, we didn't get a letter at 5 o'clock on Friday picking up our option. I think we're free. So they re-signed. They got control of advertising. They got control of everything. And they got every record was the sales were renegotiated. But those cases are rare. I mean, I know that, even when people say Billie Eilish and Phineas recorded the record in their bedroom and whatever, ultimately they ended up at a major label to get scale with a lot of control. But yes, artists should be more respected. What else? What else is fucked about the music business? You, over there, wait. Oh, no, okay. I was going to pick on her.
I got a whole list of topics.
Go ahead.
But I'm gonna pick in on your slideshow you gave, where you made the, the comparison between a startup and a band.
Right.
But what I think that the big difference is that the artist does not want to manage. They are in the creative process, like
Right.
they seek people to do the marketing for
Right,
them.
but that's
to
why
to
you,
run
in the
business for
startup,
them.
you ideally have, whether it's external or internal, you have a CFO, you have somebody who's advising you on whatever.
But they are not part of the company. It's like I would start a company right now, and I would, hire one from the big five to run it for me.
Right.
And I'm
But
giving
you have
away
to
the keys to the
admit that
kingdom.
Steve Jobs was the lead singer at Apple.
Excuse me?
Steve Jobs was the lead singer at Apple.
Oh yes, he was.
And
Yeah.
so he
Yeah.
did have a lot of involvement
Yeah.
in this is what it's going to look like.
True. But a lot of bands, it's the reverse. Like I've heard it a couple of times here that we want to stay in the creative process. We don't want to manage this.
Right.
Let someone else monetize it for me.
Right.
Not sure if that's a good idea.
Right. I mean, I hate the word, but it comes down sometimes to leverage. If you get to a point where you have enough, awareness in the market and enough, organic sales that you can say to a Warner or to a Sony or to a Universal, we want to come with you, but here's the deal. You're in a better position to strike the deal you want to strike. But, it's like I'm going to try out for the NBA next year. I got a shot, who knows? I just need to grow about 2 feet. Get her over there. She made a mistake. She made eye contact for a moment. You have to learn at this. Just keep looking down, because otherwise,
That's okay for me.
I know you got a lot of thoughts on this. I know that.
Well, I would say for me that the biggest problem of the music industry is that we don't care about the final consumer.
You would what?
About the final consumer. What does the consumer want when
Right.
he listens to music? He wants streaming, he wants some content. What does the consumer want? And we think a lot about the artist, but we don't think about of whom the artist is selling to.
That's
I'd
right.
say that.
When I worked at Warner, we had Rhino, and Rhino did the special packages for the super fan and did the 20 CD box set of one Grateful Dead song. It's a very long CD. But we were, prior to that, treating consumers as a monolithic, here's our customer, and our customer bought a CD. And when we argued about digital, whether it was downloads or streaming or whatever, the idea of meeting the fan at every possible point that they would be interested. Maybe they want to stream. Maybe they want to download. Maybe they want to watch a virtual concert. Maybe they want to subscribe to the artist through a Patronet or whatever. That's been an involvement that I think all the labels are getting better at, but it's still a mass market business, and that's the friction. Anybody else? What else is, it can't be you. He's looking at me. He's going, he doesn't mean me. I know you have thoughts on this. Before he throws me off stage, I just need some good ones. Then we start throwing things. It's like the Jerry Springer show.
Well, I heard a lot about copyrights and technology, and I think copyright rights management with all new technologies is just too hard to manage, and everything is being rethought every time you have a new technology coming, artificial intelligence, streaming, etc.
Right.
So it's too complex for an artist
But
to
that's
go
where
to.
actually, as Cliff said yesterday, that's where AI can help, because if in the back end, when people talk, we're talking about AI now, last year we were talking blockchain, and I would say to people, yes, blockchain, if the copyright's on the ledger and it's on the blockchain, you had a better idea of who was fucking you over, but it didn't necessarily get you paid. But if we get that last, few feet, like they say in cable, of fiber to the home, if we have, not only does blockchain and AI, try to demystify who's owed what, but it also triggers the payment. So you're not chasing somebody for the money that's clearly owed to you. That's the issue of, yeah, I owe it to you, but I don't have it right now. What are you going to do about it? There was a company that, for various reasons went under, the one that Benji started, I'm blanking. Pledge Music. Pledge Music was selling, it was on behalf of the artist, selling these amazing packages and experiences They thought the business was continuing, so they started spending the artist money on marketing. And then the business started to tank, and the money to give to the artist for what was sold wasn't there. Had there been a payment system in place to pay them as things were selling, it would have been better. The copyright and the payment thing, it's not only who's owed money, but how do we make sure they get paid on time? And, you know, what's his name? My dear friend, Willard Aldritz from Cobalt. When he started Cobalt 22 years ago, the idea of getting paid immediately, all the other publishers were like, why are you fucking this up? They're used to getting their money a year later. And he set up a thing where I'm taking one fee, one time in one country, and you'll have your money in 90 days. That was unheard of. We need more of that, I think. Who else? Come on, there must be things you hate about him right there. He hates the music. I can tell him he hates the music industry. Who should we lynch? Who's here? Well, let's get Jay down here. No, Jay's a good guy. Jay's actually one of the good guys.
Yeah, well, I think one of the problems is the DSP is like a supermarket, and we don't have local markets. You know, like the stream is the way the people like to hear music.
Right.
Well, we have to adapt, but for us, like indie labels, the only way to get there is with Spotify and Apple Music, and we need more diversity in like in markets,
right?
In place to,
right.
You know.
Yeah, I mean that's why I mean when I was at Amazon, we came up with having genre experts in every genre because I said at the time very arrogantly, I know rock, but I don't know classical, I don't know jazz. Give me a way of going in and say, buy these 3 classical albums, then tell us which one you like the best, and we're going to basically be that knowledgeable clerk in the store that gets you to the music you want. And there are, you know, whether it's Echo Nest or many of the other, you know, algorithm-based recommendation engines, we now, there's 100 million songs online right now. I don't think I'm going to get to hear all of them before I go. I thought a couple of years ago maybe, but just get me to 20 songs a day I've never heard before, and get me to 20 artists that should be recognized because they're doing great stuff no matter what label they're on. That's the challenge. You are in a hypermarket with music right now. 17 years ago, I gave a talk in Aspen about the transition from a distribution economy where your goal was to get your record in Fnac in the front of the store with a poster on the wall. And now everybody's music is everywhere. How do you get noticed? And so we have to, when we switch to an attention economy, you have to not only have great music, but you also have to have a way of creating a story about and a dimension to who you are. Anybody else? Who's wandered in that I can pick on? Oh, him. Oh, is there one up there? Okay, her. Yeah, yes, her.
Yeah?
No, wait. He's not looking. He's looking at his phone. Come on. Yeah, he's looking. Well, how do we fix it? You were there. We worked at EMI when EMI owned a landmine company, and we were more hated for the music company than we were for the landmines.
This is a good point, Ted. Yes. I had various views about the speed at which things can be done at deal level. So a few years ago, I built a music player using stems. And we basically had to get a rights waiver from Universal because it was far too complicated to try and do anything creative with the music, because the amount of people we would have had to go for clearance, a bit like sample clearances, was prohibitive. And it was suddenly a 50-page Anglo-Saxon contract going, thou shalt not, for lots of things. And I think that there still needs to be more open source feelings and a bit more, like the software development community, access to certain assets.
There is more of a sandbox thing at all the labels now, where we used to have to do it under the table and say, here, go do it, and don't tell anybody I gave you this.
Exactly. So that was the way it got done then. But I think asset libraries and the idea of metadata and being able to still one of the best things I ever saw at EMI with you is Shazam, right? Shazam was like class-defining music dev app. But more of that kind of stuff, and being able to search libraries, being able to do real-time recommendations for content that can be used for demonstrating new ideas like VR or mixed reality, whatever. I don't think that's as easy as it could be.
Right. There's a guy named Ian Rogers, who some of you probably know. Ian and a guy named Lucas Gons came up with an interoperable playlist language. So I could take my Spotify playlist and send it to you, and you could listen to it on Deezer. They didn't want that to happen.
No, they won't. No. They definitely
We
won't.
thought it
want
was
that to
all,
happen.
what a great idea. We can share playlists. Nope, you can't do that anymore.
I think that's the gorilla in the room, actually. Because, for instance, by the end of my life, will my son be able to listen to my record collection and my tastes in my music? Well, only if he carries on paying $9.99 or $10.99 or whatever it is to Apple Music or whatever. I think that's interesting because there's no legacy. There's nothing built in, hardwired to allow you to leave your musical tastes as annotated by Spotify and Apple Music, is it? You can't grab that stuff.
No, you can't, not at all. So let's, lady up there had a question, and then I'm going to do one more, and then we'll stop.
Thanks.
I thought it was more of a burn down the mission thing. Gareth, if she's not, incendiary enough, yell, kill him. Okay.
Hi. I'm afraid I missed the beginning bit, so sorry if this has been covered, but I think whoever asked that...
We're talking about you going to Wayfarer versus going to Amazon to buy furniture. No, we're talking about what's your biggest beef with the music industry, and if you had your magic wand, how would you unfuck it?
Yeah, so we're Figaro, and we do music search. We're all about intuitive search, and the thing that I think we've found over the last 6 months, since this, I hate the word AI, we try not to use it, it's machine learning, but since generative AI has kicked off, we've seen the response of the music industry initially was, let's shut down, I think the letter from, I won't name them, but you probably all know, the letter said, our content can't be sent to any machine intelligence system. So I don't even know what that means. And I think it was this idea of kind of trying to shut down
We had one
technology.
going on the other day, back and forth over. They were saying that a human has to be involved, and so I posted a picture of Picard saying, "Make it so." Is that?
Well, and I think our point is actually like generating new content or adaptive content is just one use case, and actually this type of software can be used in so many different ways. But we need the industry to engage and for data to be available, because otherwise, for our service to work, we need to work with data. And I think the industry at the moment is actually missing out on opportunities to get value from this type of technology, because it will need rights holders to come together and kind of want that.
Where's Dan, the guy I had lunch, the gentleman I had lunch with, is he here? He's not. There's a gentleman. Oh, there you are. You two should talk. Really, 10% from each of you. Okay, good. Now it's worthwhile. We're going to end it, but I want to give Arabian the final word here, because I have to ride with him to the airport tomorrow.
And the very last, please.
He gets the last word. I'm not going to talk anymore. Take the microphone away from me.
No worries, I do not talk as much as Ted. Anyway.
That's a low bar.
Anyway, coming from an artist and manager, I do it all. So, for me, I just think that the problem, how do we unfuck music from the lowest level, is to actually decentralize it all the way and put it back in the hands of the artist. And I think something that hasn't happened, it happens sometimes, Ted, like if you can get the people who are running the record companies, who are running these companies, more artists running them. Because every time you have an artist who is running a label, it's fantastic, because they feel the pain. They're a part of what's going on. And I think we need to get more artists getting more interested in being the labels and being the managers and the producers and these kind of things to help change the face of it.
Okay. If you want to get one of these T-shirts, it's from a guy named Martin Atkins. And if you go to bigcartel.com/Martin Atkins, when you pick the shirt out, when it says discount code, this is really wild. Type in one no spaces, Ted Cohen Rocks, and you get 20% off or 30% off. I don't get any of it. No. Thank you very much, and we're on to the next thing.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you very much.